Hey everyone. So, as part of this Django Views series, we were discussed about the how we can utilize the Django views, how it's rendering. Last videos we saw about the Ajax request from the template. So we're gonna continue the same pattern. We gonna discuss one more topic before we jump into class-based view. Um, so you guys probably may aware, right? So we started our website, thetechie.com, and we got very good response from you guys, and we also many developers started posting the free ticket here, and we are actively working on their supporting whenever they got stuck on any issues. It is pretty much just like open source free developer ticketing portal system. So whenever we as a developer, when we got stuck somewhere, maybe we need a other person or somebody has to take a look what's going on, right? So we may have other kind of forums, but it would also help um, developers in such a way. Also, you can start seeing the courses here, all free courses only, and I'm also uploading into YouTube as well as here. If you want to see as a series, you can always come here and you can watch that series like here. So as of now, we for the Django View series, we have posted 3 videos, one with part 1 here and part 2 with Ajax request, and uh, the other one of course the file uploading process. Okay, so this is a just an I want to give a small intro about our what we are doing right now, so that you guys also in future, if you want um, any suggestion or any questions, you always come here and you can post your ticket, and you can also post suggestion also. Of course, we do have some blog post. What are the various part we are discuss? People were keep on asking the topic. Will post that post. Um, we'll post as a blog here. Okay, so today, let's move on here. So there is one more topic I want to cover before we jump into class-based view. That is called a shortcut function. Um, Django has a cool feature, and it has a variety of thing in in the out of the box Django. That is called the one of the feature called shortcut function. So it may not be interesting, but it is good to know what is there in the shortcut function, so that we can, when you start developing such a complex project or any kind of stuff, it should help us to um, fix the problem as soon as if you know the base concept, right? Okay, so without delay, let's jump on. So I created a project called the Techie, and created an app called Tutorial, and I do have course for to do app. That is for I'm gonna do a tutorial for REST API framework concept. That's why I created, but of course it's not mandatory to have this here. Just for sake, I just have this here, and this is a tutorial app we are discussing all our project as far as the series concerned. And I do have one index.html under the template tutorial here called just create as Django shortcut function. And I created the view say index. Just now, I mean, for time being, I'm passing as return pass, and I do have a URL pattern, just a flat URL view index, and it is calling here in our include pattern URL. Okay, so that is all our project setup perspective, and let's take a look on what is the shortcut function. So shortcut function is a helper function in Django where we can do various things like rendering, loading templates, or returning the redirect, or if you familiar with the get absolute URL, this all uh, will come as a wrapper when we use a shortcut function. So in many cases we use render, and we may use HTTP response redirect, reverse, all this stuff, right? It is a shortcut function which is available in Django. So that is the reason when we use shortcut function, we import from Django.shortcut, and of course we have to import that function called render. Okay, so many times we see render something like this. Render, so it will take a request and will take template name and some context, right? So this is the usual thing when we want to render some data from the template or from the HTML. So this is something introduced, I believe, 2.2 something. I'm not sure exact about the version, but this inner function, this shortcut function, previously it used to have, even if you want to load from a template, right, then there is an option called loader. And as you see, I imported from Django template loader, right? So let me quickly show you what is exactly this render looks like, and then I can show you how we can create the same concept in using the loader template. Okay, so return render, this will take an argument called request and template name and context and content type and status and using. So these are the these three is, or these two is a mandatory argument for an render function, and these three or these four is an optional argument. When I say optional argument, you can pass or you may not, right? So by default it has one default value. So if you're not providing the default, if not providing the value here, then of course it will use the default value from the function which has been written in the class or in the Django, right? In the Django view, how they're constructed. Okay, so this request from here that we know, basically we're sending the session request to the view, so that is taking the request. And the template name is our case, I have index.html and just have shortcut function. Let me create a h1 tag here and save this and give a name. Okay, if just I give index.html, let's give index.html. Though I create a tutorial folder under templates, I just want to see what will happen if I provide just like index HTML not tutorial slash, basically not providing the folder. And what is the context? Context is a data or object in if you come from different language like JavaScript or Java, they call the object, right? In Python, it's a dictionary. So the set of data. So I'm just passing an empty dictionary right now. And what is next? Content type. So content type is also called meme type. So what is meme type? Let's take a look in our thing. What is meme stands for multi-purpose internet mail extension. Okay, it's a way to identifying the according to the nature of the format. Okay, so um, if you're sending an email, right, and if that is called Outlook format and message format, or send you MMS to somebody, right? Every data we are passing to the objects or other device, then it should have some kind of data headers notification, right? Some kind of uh, uh, there should be some level of data, right? So basically we should understand, hey, what kind of data we are dealing, right? Whether it is in JSON data or it is in HTML data or is an MP4, MP3, all this kind of information which will be stored as a header in your web page. So that will help the browser to render the data in a right format uh, to the client browser, right? So that is the key value here. So so I want to render this as a HTML. So I can go text, I can say HTML, text HTML. That's all about content type. And status. So by default, so and one more thing, by default it is application XML HTML. If you're not providing that, that's what it will taken by Django by default value. So that I'm just want to give us a plain text HTML. That's why I overwrite the value here. And what else next? The status. Status is something called in most of the cases we want to make sure what kind of data we are dealing. I mean, what type of status we are receiving, right? It is an 200 or 404, those stuff, right? By default, in Django it is 200. So I'm giving us a 200 status code. So it's up to us when we want to dealing if else functionality. Hey, if the template exists, go with the status of the some kind of evaluation we can also always do in our code. That's why they are having that as a optional argument where we can pass it. And using something is something like a namespace, or not a namespace, is a name which is used in our template backend engine. This is something I don't want to cover because that's different area, but I just want to show you the place where we want to deal when we want to using parameter. So in our project setting, so we have this backend, right? So this backend is the where our template it start getting loaded. So in some situation we may need, it's not a small project, sometimes the complex projects we may need to use different kind of backend for the same template. So in those situations we can create our own template and we can provide the name here, so that this view when start rendering, that will look for a particular template engine. So by default it is none, so I'm just go with none. If I refresh, save this, Go back to my page. Refresh this page. Index.html does not exist. Okay, that's what I expect because as I mentioned before, I didn't provide that folder name. So this is how the Django start seeing the template. It search for the template folder first and then search for admin template folder, and so and then it will search for all other app folder. So first it search in my template folder. I don't have template folder, so it goes to admin folder. In admin folder also there's no index HTML. So it goes to different um, um, tutorial. I mean my app and template folder. There is no index HTML in my template folder, right? This is under tutorial, not index. So let's take a look. If I create um, index.html here, let's copy from index tutorial the page 2 path to this one. So basically we have two index HTML, one under tutorial and one under our templates. Now if I refresh, wow, so so you so we understand, right, how the Django templater start loader, it start um, rendering the data. So let me rename this for a moment. Just now refresh again and see Django trying load this template in this order. Now I don't see, right? Because I renamed this in this HTML that we also aware about. But always would be uh, good to have our all our template in a template our app name folder, so that it should have a naming convention when we deal many complex kind of app a project. So I'm going to stick with tutorial folder, tutorial slash save this. Now refresh. I should see this page. Okay, I want to show this content type. So where can I see this content type? Click on your, go to the developer console. I use Control Shift I if you're in Chrome. Um, should be same for Firefox, I believe. And click on Network tab and click on your path. And if you scroll down a little bit, you should see the content type is HTML, right? And if I want to change my response type to JSON, so I should use application in JSON. And if I refresh now, click on again, I should see application JSON. Uh, Somehow it's not running. Let's see. Application JSON name type, because that's what we are looking, right? So application JSON should expect same, right? So why application JSON? Yeah, the rendering is now JSON, because we changed this to HTML from HTML to JSON. So that's why this converted from HTML tag to JSON data. That's what we expect. right? So as you see, the content type is changed to application to JSON. Okay, where I can use JSON, if you want to deal JSON data in many situations, like in your REST API framework or in your JavaScript, you want to return the data from Django as a JSON format, not HTML format, right? Mostly. Um, that situation, we may need to use a content type as a JSON. That's all about having this render shortcut function. So now I can convert this function entirely to the using loader method. So we can simply override this logic, like I already have this template here. So I'm going to copy this and paste it here. Okay, so just 3-line code, right? But still, of course, this the render function you can also put in the same line, and for just for explanation purpose, I have mentioned in as a variable, and as I use that variable here. And so if you're not using render method, so what is the other method? Um, this in Django earlier version. That's what the usual way to render the data from HTML. So I should have a HTTP template name. So that will load it from this loader template. So we saw, right, when we provided the index.html is not there, then we started seeing the different Django trying to load the data in different files. That is the function it will use here, loader.getTemplate. It was searching for this template here and the same context. But here, instead of render, I can use HTTP response. So we usually see a HTTP response in our tutorial, mini tutorial like this, or for testing purpose, we will start when you create a function. That's what we do initially, right? So if I refresh this, you can see test, right? But of course, you can use the template, the loader, using the loader template, you can render the HTML page as it is using HTTP response. So template name and this template name called render, and render has this context and request method, and then of course we have that content type. So using this method, also we can load the HTML page uh, in using HTTP response method. So the reason I explained this, this was the earlier thing we used to render the template. Still it has in our if you some situation, if you want to use mostly not, but in case if you want to use HTTP response method to load the template, of course you can use this loader function and get the template, and you can call the template as it is, like here. Now if I refresh my page, I save this file. It's reloading. If I refresh, I should see shortcut function from index.html. Cool. I hope I explain at least a little bit about the render and HTTP response shortcut function of dealing the HTTP template method. So next video we're going to discuss about the few more shortcut functions which is available in Django. Okay, just one more thing I want to show you guys. You can always um, come and subscribe our website here, so that when we upload a video or when we upload the post or blog, you will get a notification from us. Um, and also always you can provide your feedback about the video or the blog, or or any suggestions, anything. And also one more thing, if you want to discuss um, the each defect which developer has been traced here, if you want to discuss what's the issue the developer faced, what's the fix we suggested, we are not providing solution, but at least we will guide them to the right place or right path to get the issue fixed by developer itself, right? So please provide your suggestion if you want to uh, talk about that issue itself in more detail. We can also do that. Okay, thank you guys.